Welcome back to All Things Creepy. I'm your host, Micah James. And this week, I am reading to you guys 4 micropastas, so just 4 short creepypastas, basically. As usual, all these are going to be linked in the show notes, and the ones I'm reading were posted on Creepypasta Wiki, so if you want to read along or just read them by yourself, you can check out the links in, like I said, the show notes. So with that being said, let's read the first one. New cell phone, credited to an unknown author, and it was originally uploaded on December 2nd, 2010. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed. She walked to his room and saw he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background, banner, etc. But then she opened up her saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face. Next is Corn Conic's collection of short stories. I could not find an original published date, but it is credited to Corn Conic. There is an author's note here. This is a collection of very short stories that are all 100 words or less, according to Microsoft Word. Some are silly, some are creepy, some are more thought-provoking, but hopefully you'll find at least a few enjoyable. Feel free to use this as a list of prompts. I myself might expand on some of these concepts in the future. 1. When Dr. Letts saved his own life, he made himself quite a few enemies. The man's decision to defect to the side of his country's greatest adversary in the face of capture during the Third Great Resource War caused quite a stir at home. The assassination didn't take long, naturally. They found him in a secluded lab in the countryside, surrounded by unfinished experimental tech. Or rather, they didn't find him. Just a teleportation device in his chambers and its last registered instructions. Distance, 6 feet. Direction, straight down. 2. Tainted Love was playing faintly from a nearby nightclub when I slit my friend's throat in his truck. It was an accident, except not really. That's what I told the police, though. 10 years later, fresh out of prison, I'm driving my car down a busy street listening to some tunes on the radio. There's a caller segment and suddenly I hear his voice. "Hey Davey, this one's for you, buddy." Without warning, Tainted Love blasts through my speakers so loud that I don't hear the wail of an oncoming truck's horn as it plows into my side. 3. "Mommy, do you want to try out my new time machine?" Kate smiled down at her beaming daughter covered in glitter and silvery paints. "Sure, sweetie pie." She lowered herself onto all fours and crawled into the box's opening. Looking ahead, she was sure that its end seemed a lot further away when she was inside it. She shuffled forward towards the strangely bright opening and eventually emerging. What was once their living room was now a vast valley of greenery. Kate's face turned to one of awe, then terror, as she was swooped up by a pterodactyl. 4. This dude hasn't stopped staring at me throughout this whole lecture. I have no idea why, because I'm not really paying attention, just like everyone else here. Still, it's getting kind of distracting. He's got this odd look on his face, excitement mixed with trepidation and doubt. It's like he wants to come talk to me, but can't quite muster the courage. Freaking weirdo. Then I leave the lecture hall, and seeing the topic of discussion on the board, it all becomes blindingly apparent. I laugh and roll my eyes, making sure I'm within his line of sight as I dematerialize. 5. It appeared briefly and without warning in a field that was empty all but a few days of the year. A spiral of sharp pinwheel stripes slanted up towards a triangular flag, gleaming a garish crimson. No one was ever seen putting it up nor taking it down, and it was never quite the same shape as when you saw it last. There was no advertisement. The only way you knew it was near was by the echo of the ceaseless accordions, which, upon being heard, would conjure up one singular thought in mind. The circus is in town. 6. Hey dude, that evil wizard who hates you cast another spell. He said whatever you say is literal now. You know, like Amelia Bedelia? Nah, I'm not falling for that one again. You're full of shit, man. John watched in horror as his friend collapsed, feces leaking out of every pore. 7. Dead zones are an interesting concept in space travel. Theoretically, if you travel far enough out into the void, the rate at which the universe is expanding will outpace the speed you can move. Basically, you become trapped in a bubble of nothingness, never able to go anywhere ever again, only getting further away from everything over time. Even if you traveled forever, you'll never reach anywhere. Like I said, an interesting concept. I've got the rest of eternity to think about it, that and why I thought it was a good idea to nap on autopilot without an alarm. 8. Swish. Abigail's mother's knife misses her by a fraction of an inch. Moonlight illustrates her sleeping face, eyes closed, head tilted back. She swings again, and Abigail runs to another part of the house. The cycle repeats until the morn, when safety is restored. Julia sees the darkened rings around her daughter's eyes and knows she's not been sleeping. She takes her to Dr. Oswald, who prescribes a bottle of pills. That night, the last thing Abigail sees before drifting off is the glint of her dormant mother's knife as she creeps into her bedroom. 9. The scariest night of my life was on a cozy September evening. Lying on the sofa, my stomach rumbled, prompting me to retrieve a snack from the kitchen. I opened the fridge and my mind froze. I simply stared with buggy eyes at the decapitated head on the middle of the shelf. Its face contorted into the most twisted grimace I had ever seen. I couldn't sleep for weeks afterwards. Even now, years on, I still shiver just thinking about the experience. Out of all the severed heads I had amassed over the years, none of them had ever smiled before. 10. I'm peeling a potato. It's quite a large potato with lots of little blemishes and imperfections that need removing. You know how people say that their mother's always better at peeling potatoes than them? It's kind of the same with me. Kinda. Anyway, I'm peeling this potato and I'm nearly finished. There's just a few little spots left to go. I have to make sure I get all of them or this will be for nothing. Done. Now I just have 2 things left to worry about. The blood loss and when the painkillers start wearing off. 11. There's something about working in this nursing home that's been bothering me for a while. It escaped me until recently, but I finally realized no one here ever seems to get any older. Not the residents, not the rest of the staff, nobody. Andrew must have known it was weighing on me because today he took me upstairs to the door that never gets unlocked. Once it was open, we walked out to the roof. A scorched, empty earth surrounded us, reduced to rubble. We headed back inside soon after, and I didn't ask many questions anymore. 12. The art show had been a great success. Credits lauded Marcus's elegant strokes, his nuanced color usage, his portrayal of emotion, particularly distress. His works were fetching tens of thousands of dollars, and all that money went toward funding his newly extravagant lifestyle. Back home, he takes a bucket of slop, mainly food waste, and descends to the basement of his house. The creature is chained up there. It roars as it sees the sustenance he carries. Marcus distributes it across the floor and retrieves the newly coated easel from the center of the room. Exquisite, he declares, smiling widely. 13. I never liked being an FBI agent. I never liked having to monitor suspected terrorists' webcams, observing their every movement through yawns and endless caffeine. I liked it even less when they all began looking into the camera and screaming. 14. Felix approached John with an annoying smug look, a bowling ball held against his waist. Hey dipshit, I just beat your high score with a perfect 300. What do you think about that? Blow it out your ass. John heard an agonized scream and then a very loud pop, followed by the slumping of Felix's body to the floor. He considered turning around to look, but decided against it. 15. Spirits are fragile things. A simple glance from an ordinary human will almost always be enough to dispel them for a short time anyway. That's why they like to hang out in the corners of sight, where the psychic effect is not as strong. It's like a game to them, seeing how close they can get. A lot of blind people don't live alone, but if the ones that do could see, they would be driven mad. Be thankful for your vision and keep in mind that I said almost always. 16. Kevin the flea was hopelessly lost. He and his partner Dan had been wandering through the maze of incessant body hair for days. Strangely, the thick, black strands that surrounded them seemed to have warped into endless arrangement of walls and corridors. It was impossible to make sense of. Let's see, Kevin said, pulling out a map. We're not in the armpit, can't be on the leg, too far from the face. Dan suddenly clapped his legs to his face in horror. Kev, he spoke, you're not going to like this, but I think we're in the back rooms. 17. Francesca sleeps in the well at the edge of the gardens. I don't know her real name, so that's what I'm calling her. It's a beautiful name, isn't it? A beautiful name for a beautiful girl. I hope she comes to see me sometime. I've seen her plenty. She's a picture of grace, but she won't talk to me. I talk to her. I go to see her in the mornings and toss down some food and a little wine now and then. Maybe one day I'll go down there. Maybe she'll look less pale than from up here. 18. James awoke to find a body in his back garden. He rushed outside and knelt by the beast. It was huge. It was a huge foul thing, and it was waking up. 2 white dots housed within its skull powering on. Where is your God? It asked him. James stammered and pointed a finger towards the sky. The thing rose to its feet and launched itself upwards out of sight. James awoke the next day feeling like a corpse. He spent the entire day sitting at the end of his bed, staring up at the hole in the clouds through his bedroom window. 19. Darkness, enclosing me. My camp lies nearby, but I can't tell where in the suffocating black. I'm grasping at the air, waiting, hoping that my sense of direction will return to me. The slaps of my feet against the concrete are accompanied by a stifled panting. The second set of breaths is close, out of sync with my own, much more frantic and uncontrolled. I stopped and sniffed the air. It is caked with the sticky stench of sewage, but that is ordinary. An unfamiliar scent hides behind the facade of rot. While still dirty and rancid, it is very much alive. 20. I live in an area with ravens. They're smart animals, apparently. Befriend them and they will repay you in coins, bottle caps, and random bits of whatever else they can find. I hate ravens, though. I have done since I was little. They're harbingers of death, and they took my family away from me. That's why I recruited the help of some unsavory powers. I guess you could sum it up like this. Some people have birds that bring them dead things. I have a thing that brings me dead birds. 21. There's a voice in my head that tells me he's a completely different person. Says his name is Emil, that he's lived in London for over 20 years, and that he's not supposed to be here with me. He begs and pleads with me to help him all the time, nonstop. I know his address, all the people he claims to know, basically everything about him at this point. It's insufferable at times, but I know from experience that it won't last forever. I can't wait for him to realize that he's never actually left his body. 22. My son runs out into the garden. He kicks away the discarded Amazon package and starts spouting off some conspiracy nonsense, as per usual. Something about an invasion of invisible alien spaceships here to enslave us. Thank God I'm losing my hearing. Not like it matters much. I'm so happy playing with my new drone that I almost didn't notice it bouncing off a portion of the sky. 23. It's the strangest thing, you know? As of late, we've started seeing these weird entities in each other's cubicles. I did say this job would drive us mad, but I didn't mean it literally. Craig's got a clown that's pretty harmless. Harry's got this anthropomorphic lizard. They can't see their own entities for whatever reason. None of us can. That's probably best for me. My name's Victor, and apparently I have this fuzzy, gelatinous blob with bulging eyes. They tell me that it gets a little closer every day. Let's hope I get laid off soon. 24. I was homeless. One day, 2 men in suits came up to me and asked if I was interested in making some money. They took me to this weird facility and gave me a VR headset. It was a simulation of being homeless. In the simulation, 2 men in suits came up to me and asked if I was interested in making some money. They took me to this weird facility, and I have no idea how many layers deep I am now. All I can hope is that next time, I have the courage to tell them no. 25. Don't you think this format is getting kind of old? Yumi, the jockey, said to John. Kinda. I suppose at this point we are beating a dead horse. Yumi screamed as they suddenly found themselves by the side of her deceased stallion, Jupiter, lead pipes in hand. John silently and awkwardly left the barn as she knelt by the animal's side and wept. And finally, 26. It's been almost 80 days since we seen the sun in the Antarctic. It's getting tougher every year, but some of us handle it better than others. Theodore, our boss, is one of those people. He's a hearty kind of guy ready for anything. The only thing he can't bear is the smell of Alexander's garlic curry. He's superstitious too. When he's out on an expedition, he'll never re-enter the base without someone letting him in from the inside. It's peculiar, but harmless, I guess. He must have some difficult work for us because he said we'd be feeling drained soon. Next is Grocery List. Unknown author, but it was originally uploaded on August 18th, 2010. You get a phone call from your mother. Since her car is in the shop, she asks you to go to the grocery store and pick up a few odds and ends for her. Bread, milk, cereal, and chicken breasts. After writing down a small list, you reluctantly get in your car and pick up the items at the store. The lady cashier makes an odd remark to you. You know, we're in no danger of a milk shortage. Upon arriving to her house, you knock several times. No answer. You decide to try the door. It opens. You place the grocery bag on the counter. Strange. There seems to be 6 other grocery bags each with identical contents. In a couple, the chicken and the milk have gone bad. Mom, you call out, but there's no answer. You make your way through the kitchen and into the living room. Sitting on the couch with her head cut off neatly resting on her lap is your mother. Naturally, you call the police, who come over to investigate. They mention that she has been dead for nearly a week. Furthermore, the police psychiatrist is at the scene and talks to you after you give your initial statement. Sitting in the front steps, you overhear the psychiatrist talking to the crime scene investigator. It's not uncommon for people suffering from schizophrenia to get locked into a series of repetitive behaviors, he says. You think to yourself, they can't be talking about me. Schizophrenia? No way. Repetitive behavior? Do they think I did this? Suddenly your cell phone goes off. Hello? Hi, hon, it's me. Could you stop at the store and pick up some chicken and milk? Oh, and I need some bread and cereal too. No problem, Mom. I'll be right over. Our final story is called I'm Worried About My Son, credited to writer Josh. I'm very worried about my son. More than worried at this point. Terrified. His behavior these past few weeks is not normal, not healthy. It makes me think there's something wrong. At first, he would just come and stand at the doorway. He did this at night just before I'd be ready to fall asleep. I'd roll over to turn off the lamp and he'd be standing there in the doorway. I used to try to speak to him. I don't do that anymore. He never has answered me. He just stares. A couple of days ago, he graduated from standing in the doorway to coming in and sitting on the bed. He still doesn't speak. I have asked him what he wants. I've asked him if anything is bothering him. It's not like him to be so quiet. He usually waits until my wife is asleep. That's the part that gets me. She always falls asleep before me, and he has never come in when she's awake. But then, she didn't have a hand in this. If something doesn't change soon, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm starting to feel like he knows that I'm the one who killed him. Okay, so I know that I said that these 4 are all micropastas, and that's technically true. I know the second one I wrote was like kind of longer, but it was 26 different stories, and I kind of wanted to do something that like, okay, maybe wasn't like too long, but I wanted something that was like at least, a medium-sized thing for people who might have like a medium-sized commute. If you guys listen to this in your car or something, or you're going on just a medium-sized drive, so you guys can have something to listen to. But anyways, that was this week's episode. I am hoping that I will get like an actual researched episode out to you guys next weekend. But yeah, I mean, if you have any recommendations for topics, let me know. But anyways, I will see you guys next weekend. Please be safe out there. And stay creepy. So, see you next weekend.